Hello world and welcome to the Cartridge Club, the most exclusive free-to-join video game club in all the internet. I'm your host, Curtis Friesel, back again after a nearly 2-year hiatus to talk all things Spyro the Dragon this month on the Cartridge Club. But first, I brought with me a distinguished panel of guests along to join in on all the fun. So let's meet them. Wow, I write that it was so wordy. Anyway, we have some wonderful people here to talk about Spyro with me. Let's meet them. That sounded better. Up first, we have Captain Algebra. He is steering the ship of mathematics. How you doing, Captain Algebra? Thanks for being here.
I am doing great. Super excited to be here because I love Spyro the Dragon.
Up next, we got SNES is Life. SNES is Life. How are you?
Very good, very good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. And of course, we got a Cartridge Club OG member, and that is in the form of MrsQDawg. How are you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
It has been a while. We have shared many a laugh together in the past, and I am so happy that you're here to talk Spyro with me.
Well, you asked me to be on, and I said, of course.
It was very easy. Yes. Yeah, it was very, very easy. If anybody wants MrsQDawg to be on the podcast, you really don't have to. She could be on every Cartridge Club. I guarantee it from here on out. Every episode.
Hey, come on.
And then you're going to have to play all these games.
No.
Your schedule will fill up like that.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, if you didn't know, this is kind of special. Almost, I guess. But this is episode 99 of the Cartridge Club, the 99th month that we've been doing this, which means that next month is going to be the 100th month, which is a bit of a milestone. But let's not, disregard the importance of this episode. I mean, this is 99. This is the last of the double digits. That means something, I think. Deal. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It should, yeah.
Exactly.
But with this 100th month celebration, I don't know who put it together. Melissa, do you know who put it together? Was it Dean?
Yeah, the video.
Yeah. So there's this video out there.
Dean.
Oh my goodness. If you guys haven't seen it out there in Cartridge Club world, you got to go check this out. I'm assuming most of you have because almost everyone's in it, which is funny. But it's just a compilation of a bunch of Cartridge Clubbers sharing their love and thanks and gratitude to the club, celebrating this 100th month that's coming up. There's surprises galore in it. People I haven't seen in years kind of showing up and sharing stories and laughing. And, we get a cameo from the Cartridge Bros themselves at the end, which was really nice to see them, Sean and Mark. And it was just a great time. Have you guys seen the video?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you participate in the video? I apologize if I... Was anybody in it? I know, Melissa, you were in it because you were like right before us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in there somewhere too.
Yep, that was in there.
We're all there.
Yeah,
That just speaks to the breadth of how many people are in this group.
Mhm.
Right? It's crazy. I mean, I admit I'm a bit of a lapsed Cartridge Clubber. It's been a second. I kind of took a bit of a hiatus after CC Portable wrapped up. But man, it is so amazing to see how this club has been thriving throughout the years and how it's transformed and grown and just what it is now. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It's really something.
Yeah, it's great.
So if you haven't seen that video, please go to YouTube, check it out. And thanks to Dean Lasagna. Special thanks to him for wrangling that and putting that all together, because what a mammoth feat that must have been. All right. With all that out of the way, let's talk some Spyro the Dragon. Now, we are talking about the very first Spyro the Dragon. It came out on the original PlayStation. It has been since re-released on the reignited trilogy that came out for all these new-fangled systems.
For everything.
For everything, pretty much. Yeah, it's out there, which is good because it's reintroducing Spyro, which has kind of been dormant for a while. But before we kind of dig into the game, I just want to gauge everyone where they stand on Spyro. Did you play it growing up? Did you play it for the first time? What's your kind of personal history of Spyro? SNES's Life, why don't we start with you?
I don't have one. It's interesting. Well, I mean, The PlayStation came out in what, 94, 95-ish?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So my older brother had one, and he was 6 years older than me. I was 14. So like right around the time we got it, we had it for maybe a year, and then he moved out and it took it with him. And I was left with the N64. And I never played it as a kid, which made this really interesting to get a completely fresh view on it. Because I played the original. I did not play the reignited.
Okay, you played OG PlayStation.
Yeah.
And what compelled you to play along this month?
I've been on the backlog. You know, I got a PS Vita and got a bunch of stuff off the PSN store. One of those was the Spyro trilogy, just because I wanted to go back and play all these 3D platformer games that are, you know, well loved and lauded by everybody, like Spyro, Jack and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank. I never played any of that stuff growing up. So I wanted to go back, and then you guys were like, hey, we're playing Spyro. I was like, well, that's serendipitous.
Yeah, that's great, because I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I never grew up playing it, so this was a first-time experience for me as well. What about you, Captain Algebra? What does Spyro mean to you?
Spyro's pretty special to me. The PlayStation is actually the first console that was mine. I have an older brother who's 8 years older than me, so the NES and the SNES were his, and I was just able to play on them. But at this point, he was in high school. He wasn't really gaming much anymore. So I got the PlayStation, and I didn't hear about Spyro at first. But a friend of mine that rode the bus, he brought it on the bus one day. He's like, hey, you got to check out this game. It's really fun. And so I borrowed it, played it a little bit. I was like, wow, this is really good. So then I actually asked for it for like a birthday or Christmas. And my mom got it for me, and I was hooked. And I've loved it ever since. One of my favorite PS1 games.
Oh, that's amazing. So you've been there from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. What about you, Melissa? Is this first time? Or?
No, we did have it for the PlayStation, and I played it, and I remember getting stuck and not finishing it. And, you know, that was years ago. And then when the Reignited came out, we bought that, and I've been wanting to play that again. I was like, oh, I'll play it on the newer system. And then when the Cartridge Club said we're going to do that for the game of the month, I said, oh, I'll play along. So
that's amazing. What's more amazing to me is that you got stuck anywhere in this game. When we dig into the meat and potatoes of this, I want to know what was the spot that you couldn't get past.
Then that's the problem. Well, I'm gonna kind of, sorry, but I don't remember where I got stuck. The thing.
How can you do that? How can you tease me with that?
I know. I just remember thinking, I don't know where to go from here. And then I was like, all right, I'm done. And so I never went back.
It was probably the treetops level.
It might have been.
Certainly.
Yeah. I mean,
it's got to be.
Because I looked it up how to do it this time. I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So, of course, I looked it up this time.
All right. We're jumping ahead. That's some good, podcast fodder right there. We got to save that. Okay, so you had it before, you gave up on it. It was just too tough for you. The hardest game you've ever played. You came back to it. You conquered it this month. It's a story of redemption for MrsQDawg. I love it. Well, my personal history with Spyro was when I got a PlayStation. I think it was either the Christmas of 97 or 98. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember getting it for Christmas, and the first game I had, believe it or not, was NASCAR 98. I think that was more of a game for my mom's boyfriend at the time, rather than us, because I didn't care about NASCAR. I mean, I was around it, but like I tell you, for the first game for PlayStation, would not have chosen NASCAR 98. But what also came with that PlayStation was a little demo disc, right? Mm-hmm. And this demo disc was so important to my love of PlayStation because it had all these games on there that for the longest time I only ever knew them through the demo. Parappa the Rapper, Intelligent Cube, and Spyro the Dragon, right? And in my adult life, I have now been I'd always wanted those games and never got them as a kid. And now in my adult life, I'm buying these games and kind of gifting them to my 10-year-old self, 8-year-old self, whatever, however old I was. Here you go. You finally get to play the whole thing. And one of those games was Spyro. And so I purposefully sought out the PlayStation version for this month so I could finally play more than just the first level or whatever was in the demo, right? So yes, I played it on the PlayStation. And I'm sorry. So SNES is Live, you played PlayStation. Captain Algebra, did you play the
I played
original?
both. I played both.
That's amazing. That's even better. I love it.
Overachiever.
Yeah.
And then
I told you I love the game.
You played the reignited.
I played the reignited. Yeah.
Okay, this is great. So then we got all perspectives covered. This is very cool. So we're talking about Spyro, right? Maybe you're not familiar with this little purple dragon. Well, let me get you familiar really quick. I got a little spiel that I did not copy and paste from Wikipedia. I did copy and paste it from Wikipedia, but I'm going to read it anyway. And it goes a little like this. Spyro the Dragon. It's a platform game developed by Insomniac Games and published by Sony Computer Entertainment for the PlayStation. Came out September 9th, 1998. It's the first game in the Spyro series, and it stars the title character, a young purple dragon named Spyro and his dragonfly friend Sparks, who must journey across the Dragon Kingdom to defeat Is it Gnasty Gnorc or Nasty?
Gnasty.
It's Gnasty. They do.
Yeah, they make a point of pronouncing that G, man.
I love it. Gnasty Gnorc, who has overtaken the 5 dragon homeworlds by trapping the other dragons in crystal and turning their hoard of gems into an army of minions. Spyro the Dragon is an open-ended 3D platformer featuring large, sprawling levels in which the player must locate collectible items, among which are gemstones, crystallized dragons, and stolen dragon eggs. Spyro's abilities as a dragon include Fire Breath, a head-on charging attack, and a mid-air glide, which he can use to scale large distances, all of which must be used strategically to find items and defeat enemies. And in a nutshell, that is Spyro the Dragon. So with all that out of the way, why don't we get down to the meat and potatoes and talk about what we thought about Spyro the Dragon. Let's start with Captain Algebra.
All right. Well, you guys know I love this game. And I think any chance I get to play it again, I'm always up for it. But one of the reasons I played both the original and the reignited, because I had played the reignited when it first came out, but I couldn't remember all the differences and stuff. So I wanted to see if I still remembered them correctly or not. And I definitely, I don't know, maybe it's nostalgia, but I think I still prefer the original game. There's just parts of the reignited trilogy that I feel like they made harder.
In what way?
So first of all, the gliding in the original game, when you jump and you start to glide from the highest point, you just glide from that point. In the reignited trilogy, you kind of like go down a little bit before you actually start your glide, which makes some of the glides harder to make. I feel like the flying stages are harder. It's either Spyro moves faster or like the world seems smaller, and you can't quite control him as well as you could in the original PlayStation game.
Yeah. Those flying stages were in each world to me the hardest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a welcome
change
to the regular formula. I love doing the flying stages.
Yeah, they're definitely a lot of fun, and yeah, when you first play them, they can be tricky for sure.
Yeah. You know, speaking of the reignited versus the original, I played the original, but I did look up some footage from reignited, and it looks like obviously they add more to the environment, more detail to everything, and it looks like they might have even made some of the gems harder to find. Like whereas in the original, you got a red gem just kind of sitting there in the grass. It might be kind of like hidden in a bush where you really got to kind of look for it. In the reignited, would you say that's accurate? Or
yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to judge because I know the game so well.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I have them memorized where the gems are, but if I'm missing one, it's like, okay, these are usually the ones I miss. But yeah, with the increased graphics, like there's more grass and there's bushes and stuff. So they're definitely harder to see. But in the reignited trilogy, there is a way, I don't remember the button combination. Maybe it's L3 and R3. If you hold them, sparks will actually point in the direction of the gems that you haven't found yet, where that was not in the original game.
If you push down on L3.
L3,
that's neat.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going around and you're completely stuck, he'll point, so it'll help you get to that 120%.
Mm-hmm.
where
Oh
there's one
man.
hidden or something. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know. I mean, I already did it, but man, it would have been nice to know when I was playing it. What about you, MrsQDawg? What you like Spyro? You don't like it? You got past that hard point, so
I did. I got past the treetops, and so I like Spyro, but it was very frustrating for me. But
yeah.
I played it all through. I didn't get 120 yet, and I don't know if I will. Those flying sections are really difficult for me, really difficult, and I do feel like Spyro moves super fast. I'm like, you need to slow down. I was like, where's the slow down button? Where's the brake? You know, he needs a brake button. But so I did the whole, I did every level 100% except for the flying levels. But everything else, I did
Really?
100%. Yeah.
But those flying levels are just giving you.
I know. They're just, yeah.
What do you think it is? Do you think it's because it's too hard to control, or
Yeah, it's just too hard to control for me. I
And
guess I just don't have the skills, I guess.
interesting? You haven't beaten any of the flying levels? Is that what I'm to understand?
None of them.
Not
of
a
them.
single one.
Not a single one.
Oh my goodness! And you don't think you have the metal to go in and finish the job?
I don't think I do. I want to, but I don't know. Maybe I will go back because
It's already
really
December.
hard.
Are you playing Final Fantasy?
No, I'm not.
When are you
December is a
gonna
hard
finish it?
month for us to play a game in.
I don't know why it would be. It's
Yeah,
like
I
the
don't know.
least,
No.
Obligation month.
I mean, it's 31 days too. You'd think I'd have enough time.
I know. I mean, what if this was February, the shortest month?
Right.
Come on. All right. Well, that's a to be continued on Melissa and her journey to 120%. But doesn't it eat at you
Yes.
that you're not?
Because I just played Horizon Zero Dawn with the club, and I platinumed it on the PlayStation. I got my first platinum trophy.
And Spyro's kicking your butt.
And Spyro's kicking my butt, and it is kind of killing me because I think I only have like 4 trophies left.
So you haven't played then that last level that you unlock, right? Because you have to get all the gems.
Where you have to have all the gems in order to get that one opened. Yes.
Oh my gosh!
And
Let me just say, best level ever.
Oh,
Maybe
For sure.
So
in
much
any
fun.
video game. Oh my gosh! It's like they just saved it all for that, and they're like, we are going to reward you. So
I mean,
yeah,
kind of missing out.
Yeah.
I know.
You got to do it, Melissa.
I know. I do.
I believe
Power
in you. I want you. We all believe in you. We'll clap real hard like Tinkerbell when Peter Pan dies. I want you to post on Discord when you get that 120%.
All right. I will.
SNES is life. Were you felled by the flying levels, or were you able to master them?
I did 120% the game.
All right.
I will say though, in Melissa's defense, I had to go backwards and finish those flying levels because, especially, I don't know why, but the very first flying level, was it Peacekeepers? I think was the after the very first world you're in. I think Peacekeepers was it, and
yeah.
Just for some reason, I could not figure out the best path to go through it, Whereas like all the other flying levels, it seemed kind of like it started you going in the direction that you wanted to go. And that very first one, I had to like flip a Yui immediately is what I ended up doing and finding a way around that way because I just going straight ahead, I could not get it done. I mean, I probably tried it 20 or 30 times.
For sure. And you actually make a good point because I felt that as the game progressed, the path on which you should take to make sure you don't run out of time and be able to get everything got more and more obtuse as you went on. So that I remember that one, was it in the last world or maybe it was in the floating castle world? It was one where you had to shoot planes and trains. I think it was the first one that had planes. That one,
the first one had planes, trains, I think lighthouses.
Yeah.
I think there was another one too.
It was one of the last couple that had, it was just, oh my gosh. I kept getting to where I would have 2 or 3, let's say, planes left, and then I'd run out of time.
Yeah, that's where I was. I'd be missing 2 or 3 things, and it just frustrated me so much. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep playing the game. I'll come back to it.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I loved the flying levels. Like we said, it was a nice change of pace from the rest of the game. I wish there was more stuff like that. You know, it was like you'd get the 4 levels and then a flying level. I wish there was a little bit more variety, you know, in there. What it would be, I have no idea. But I think of, and we'll talk about this in a bit, but I think of Crash Bandicoot and how it's a similar thing. You're on a path, you collect everything, and how you would have, you know, the chase levels, you'd have the riding levels where you're riding the animal. There was a little bit more variety in it, whereas Spyro I felt was a little kind of samey a lot of the time, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's is Spyro, I guess my question was Spyro too easy? And Melissa, we know that it wasn't too easy for you. But flying level aside, because they are doable, is the rest of the game kind of too easy?
I'm not a big platformer, so maybe that's my problem. Like, I'm not really good at platformers, so I don't think it was too easy. Now,
really?
The other thing is, and this happens a lot of times if I'm going to be on the podcast, then I try to play the game in time, and then I feel a little bit of pressure. And so sometimes when I have this like pressure looming over me, I think I have trouble like playing it because I'm like, I got to get this done. Right. And so I felt like I got to get this done. And so then I felt like I would get frustrated because I tried to like rush through it, you know, to make sure because I wanted to finish the entire game and like beat nasty Gnorc, you know, and everything. And so I don't think it was too easy for me. I also had problems gliding, and I don't know, you know, Captain Algebra, you said that the glide was a little different in this new one, and maybe that because I felt like I would jump, hit my glide button, and I would not. There was a lot of times when I would not make it, and I was like, I hit it at the right time. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, so I don't know if the mechanics for me would have been better to play it on the PlayStation 1 this time around.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if you played on the PlayStation and just compared them.
Back, because that was so long. You know, that was like 2004, right? So that was a while ago. So I should try it out.
It's so funny too that both of you have mentioned the gliding being difficult. SNES is like, did you have a problem with the gliding? I don't feel I ever had an issue with the glide.
No, but we were playing the original.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like the gliding was a problem at all.
No.
That was like my biggest problem. Anytime like that final level with the boss, the very final, and you had to go on the different platforms, you know, and they went away, and I was like, that's it. I can't finish this game. There's no way I'm going to be able to do it. Like I thought for sure I would never be able to do it
because of the gliding.
Because I knew that was all gliding and jumping.
Yeah, the gliding's way easier in the original version.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
That is really weird. What a weird thing to tweak. Because I really like the gliding.
Yeah.
So I did think it was, I don't want to say it was too easy, but it almost, it was easy to the point that it became more like comfort food video game to me as I was playing it rather than like an actual challenge. Like I dug, it became, I can just kind of shut off my brain and play this, and it's chilling out after I get home from work or whatever, rather than this is like taxed. You know, I just played Metroid Dread. I just finished that, and whoa, man, that game, I had to use like every video game skill I'd ever learned to beat that game. It was crazy. I was so focused on it. You know, I don't feel I had that with Spyro. Not saying that that's a knock against it. I just felt more like, you know, chill playing Spyro. Am I wrong? SNES?
No, I think I don't think the game was too easy. I try and, you know, one of the reasons I played the original is going back and to play these games. I want to get what was originally intended. Like the reignited trilogy, they've changed some things. They've added graphics. I want to see what it was when it came out. And I think you have to contextualize, like, Spyro was brought out in the mid to late 90s. And it was really, I think, made for a younger audience. This isn't Symphony of the Night. Like, this is not the teenager's game. This is the 10-year-old brother's game, is kind of the way I saw it. But on that note, I didn't think it was too easy. I thought it was perfect. It was a great game just to sit and devour, and it wasn't so challenging that you got frustrated. I played it on my breaks and lunches at work as how I played through it, and it was perfect for that. The levels weren't so hard that you got stopped halfway through one and had to go back. Like, you could finish a full level in 15 minutes probably, and I just felt like it was great for what I was playing it for.
Yeah. It did have a great pick up and play-ness to it. I love games where you can save all the time. I love that. Yeah. And this had it all over the place. You saw a dragon, you're like, all right, I'm going to be able to save right there. This is great. I kind of map out. Okay, just Captain Algebra, you seem like you had something to say.
Yeah, I liked how you mentioned, like, the comfort food. That's kind of why I played both versions, is because it's a game I love so much. Like you said, you don't really have to think about it. You just kind of sit and you enjoy yourself, Yeah. And obviously, since I've played it since it came out, I find it pretty easy. I think I can beat the game in like 3 hours. And that's why I played both of them. It's like, okay, 6 hours to play on this game. Yeah, I can do that, no problem. And so there's not a ton of challenge, but there are those moments that it does up the ante. We talked about the flying levels. We'll talk about treetops a little bit later. And some of that nasty Gnorc when you have to do those platforming, that's a little bit tougher than some of the other boss fights. So it has its moments, but like SNES said, it is made for the younger crowd. You mentioned the 10-year-old brother. I think I was 10 or 11 when it came out, so it was perfect for me. And I did 120% it the first time I played it. And so I don't think it's that difficult of a game.
Yeah. Speaking of 120%ing it, it got to a point at the game pretty early on, maybe in like the second world, where I kind of made it up in my mind. I was like, I kind of get how this is working. I'm not going to go through the whole game and then go back and collect everything. I'm going to collect everything starting now. And I won't move on until I collect everything. And then I'll go back and do those other ones really quick. So I'm all kind of caught up. And then from this point on, it's like every level I got to complete it, 100%. Did you guys, we're all aiming for 120%. I think we all did it except for Melissa. Sorry, Melissa. But how did you approach that collecting?
Yeah, I did that. I did the same way. I don't move on from a level until I 100% it. That's just the way I've always liked playing that game, which actually gets frustrating when you play the later Spyro games because you can't actually do that.
What?
Interesting.
Yeah, so you have to get different abilities in the other Spyro games and then go back to levels to finish them.
You have to backtrack.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
brutal.
Yeah. They force you to have that replayability to pad out the runtime and everything. Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting. SNES, how did you approach that?
So when again, being the first time I played it, I had never read a guide. I'd never looked at a review or a playthrough or anything. And so I exited the first area, got into Peacekeepers, decided I wasn't going to finish that flying level. I was like, I'll come back to this later. And then I got to the next area and managed to finish every single one of those levels. And one thing I like about Spyro is on the pause menu, it very clearly shows where your status is on completion. Mm-hmm. And I realized, I was like, wait, there's an extra level there that I didn't find in the last one. So then I went back to Peacekeepers because I had missed a portal, I guess, and found that world. And at that point, I was like, all right, I'm getting everything. I'm going to 100% this damn game.
Is Peacekeepers the desert one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. There is a very hard to find level in that one. That one had where I was trying, I guess it's not hard to find once you know what to do, but I think it's you have to shoot the cannon or light the cannon, shoot it at a rock so it creates this like bridge so you can jump over and get to the level, right? Because you can see there's gems over there. I know I can get over there somehow.
It's just a matter of how.
How do you do it? And I don't know why I wasn't putting it together, even though I knew you could mess around with the cannons. There's not like, oh, and there is. I was gonna say there's nothing like pointing, hey, this is what you got to do. There is. There's like a target, I think, on the rock that you're supposed to hit, right?
Mhm.
I didn't find that until like much later on, and it was frustrating me because I lied a little bit. That was a level I had to come back to because I was like, I'm not going to look that up. I'm not. I can figure that out. Like, how do I get that freaking level? And and then it was finally.
Yeah, that was it. Like once I realized I missed a level and went backwards, I was like, all right, now I'm just going to be stubborn and it's getting done on the way.
Yeah. And there's another one too. I think in the first world where you have to jump on platforms,
right,
like outside of a waterfall in like a order, and that's something that like one of the dragons tells you, like there's a secret in artisans or whatever. Which the dragons. Let's talk about the dragons for a second, right? I got a lot to say about the dragons. Let's start with this. No female dragons. What's up with that? Melissa, you must have some thoughts on this. Did you think that while you're playing? Like, this whole game is all male.
Well, I don't know. Maybe some of the names could have been female-ish. I don't know. Like I felt like towards the end they were running out of names too. Like, what are these names you're coming up with?
I was impressed with the dragon names. Yes, because there was a lot of them.
Yeah.
I tried looking up. I was like, why is there no female dragons? That doesn't make any sense. And I found two reasons, they said. One of them, which I was like, this makes sense, is that they had to reuse a lot of assets and they couldn't figure out how to do like a female figure for a dragon. Okay.
Don't give the dragon boobs.
I can buy that. I guess it makes sense. They're not really wearing clothes. You can't, how do you show that? Okay, I'll buy that one. But the other one was said there wasn't enough female voice actors.
I don't buy that at all.
Yeah, neither do I. That seems like BS.
There's plenty out there.
There wasn't enough. How many do you need? First of all, you need what? They had like 5 voice actors in the whole game. You couldn't get one woman. Some of these actors did a bunch of voices of different dragons. You couldn't get one woman for this. Like, I don't buy that at all. It feels like a weird omission not having any female dragons. Captain Algebra, you've played the later games. Do they have female dragons in those?
I mean, in the later ones, you're not really looking for the crystallized dragons anymore. You look for like dragon eggs and orbs and stuff. When you get to the third game and you find, is it the third? When you do the dragon eggs, there are female names for them. But they're babies, they hatch out of the eggs. And there are some female characters, protagonists as you go throughout the series, but definitely not a lot.
Okay.
It seems silly. Like, they should have just been able to say, it's a dragon. It doesn't need to have a female form. Just give it a female voice and a female name and problem solved.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Maybe some like super long eyelashes or something.
Sure. Yeah. There you go. Yep.
Like, in this is a stupid reference, but I just was watching it. Land Before Time, right? They got female dinosaurs. Like Littlefoot's mom is a dinosaur, not wearing any clothes. We know it's a female. Why? Because it's got a female voice. Sarah, the Triceratops, is a female. Why? Because she's got a female voice. She's not wearing any clothes. There's nothing like feminine about her. Maybe some eyelashes.
Right.
It's not that hard. The flip side, devil's advocate of this conversation. I didn't want to act like I was so woke. Like, maybe dragons don't need, there's only one sex. There isn't male or female. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they like cough up these eggs, these dragon eggs. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, is there an expert on dragons in the Cartridge Club somewhere that we can?
I'm sure
find out?
Dean seems to be an expert on everything. We'll talk to him after the show.
Getting into that Jurassic Park conundrum where they just flop sexes as they need.
Yeah.
Yes, they flip flop. Life finds a way.
There you go.
Finds a way. But these dragons, they did have voices, and I'm tickled pink by some of these voice actors. So Spyro was voiced by, I'm going to butcher this, I'm sure, Carlos Alazraqui, which he's done a bunch of stuff, but I know him most famously, I think, for Reno 911. right?
Yes, we know him. We noticed that too from Reno 911. Yes.
Fun fact, though, he only voiced Spyro in this very first game, which I don't know who does the voices in the Reignited trilogy. This is just the OG PlayStation. But he only did Spyro the first time. You know who did Spyro in the subsequent games? Anybody?
The guy who did SpongeBob.
Correctamundo, Tom Kenny. What a weird, strange. Who knew? Who knew?
Mm-hmm.
You know? But we also have, let's see, Jamie Alcroft, Michael Goh, and then my personal favorite, Clancy Brown. I don't know about you guys, but I am like such a Clancy Brown mark. I love this guy. He's if you don't know who he is, he played the guard in Shawshank Redemption, like the lead guard, you know, the mean guy. He's Mr. Krabby and SpongeBob, talking about SpongeBob SquarePants. You know, he's in Pet Sematary too. He's a big time character actor. I'm gonna name drop a little bit, but I was in a series. It was like a web series thing. I think it was called Aim High, and he played the villain in it. Let me just pick that name up that I dropped. But I never met him, but I was so happy when I saw his name on the call sheet. I was like, oh my gosh, me and Clancy Brown are in the same project. This is insane. But I never got to meet him, so that was a little disappointing. But I'm a big Clancy Brown mark. You guys, I wanted to talk about this. Does this mean anything to any of you?
Yeah, I mean, he was obviously one of the more well-known people to me. I know him from Lost. He was in a few episodes of that. I don't know if anybody. He was in the hatch on the island, and he's the one who tries to run away when Desmond shows up, because he's trying to escape and make Desmond be the only one in the hatch.
Yeah, I completely forgot he was on Lost. You're right. I mean, that guy, he's in everything, you know. And SNES's life, you strike me as a big Michael Goh fan, right? I mean, come on, name off some of the stuff he's done.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not pay any attention to the voice actors in this game. Like I heard their voices, but I didn't recognize anything, and that's just something I personally don't look into.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Clancy Brown. Like, I know exactly who he is from Shawshank.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would not have been able to pull any of these people's voices and be like, oh, I recognize that.
That's funny. I mean, I'm so attuned to his voice. It became a fun game for me while I was playing Spyro. Like, which dragons did Clancy Brown voice? You know, I could tell the voice. I was like, oh, he did this one, because he'd change it. He'd be like, Spyro, this is this, and Spyro, this is, you know, whatever the different voices were. It was really funny. I don't know. It became a little bit of a game for me. Where to next? Sorry, I was totally fanboying about Clancy Brown. I can't believe this is like turned into the Clancy Brown fanboy podcast.
It's understandable. You know, he's a good actor.
Oh, I remember where I was going with this. Speaking of Clancy Brown.
Not off of that train yet.
No, this train is not. This
Keeps
is not,
dropping it.
Keeps rolling.
Drop
Clancy Brown is the voice of Dr. Neo Cortex in Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, okay.
So there's all these connections to Crash Bandicoot. Spyro and Crash have this weird, like, storied history over the years. You know, they both were kind of early mascots for PlayStation, although they were developed by different teams. Insomniac did Spyro, and Naughty Dog did Crash originally. Obviously, they share the Clancy Brown connection. They had the games on the Game Boy Advance. Mm-hmm. They had Crash Purple and Spyro Orange, where they were in each other's worlds doing the games. And then, just recently with the reignited trilogies, Spyro got a reignited trilogy. Crash got the Insane trilogy kind of at the same time. So they share this weird. They're just like tied together through all of time. So I couldn't help but calm down. My dog's freaking out on the ground. I couldn't help but keep comparing them as well, because the first game when I had my original PlayStation that I got to pick out was Crash Bandicoot 2. And so I am a total Crash Bandicoot fanboy. So we're talking about is this game too easy or not? Like Crash Bandicoot, that'll put some hair on your nuts. You know, that game is hard. If you want 106% or whatever the weird percentage is in that game, you got to be good. I didn't feel that way with Spyro. You guys play Crash Bandicoot? MrsQDawg, you've played Crash Bandicoot?
I have. I'm trying to remember which one we played for the Cartridge Club. I actually played along.
I think the first Cartridge Club I was ever on was Crash Bandicoot 2, I think. Mm-hmm. It was one of the early ones.
Yeah, so I did play along with that. I did play that game. I do like the Crash games.
And where do you stand on Crash?
Like,
were you able to beat those? Do you 106% those?
I'm not sure. I don't think I did. I think I just was like, this is good enough.
I beat the game. I don't need to get all the crystals and see the 6-second secret ending. One line is different. Is it really worth it? Captain Algebra, did you play the Crash games?
Yeah, I love the Crash games. The first Crash Bandicoot game was the first game I got for my PlayStation. I think I got my PlayStation for my birthday, and there was that game, and then like NHL Face Off '97 or something. And so, and I didn't have a memory card because I'm so used to cartridge-based games, right. And my mom didn't know, so she didn't buy me a memory card. So I'm playing the game and I'm trying to save and I can't, but luckily you can get passwords in that game. But I did. I think I just kept starting over and over and over until I did get a memory card, and so I had the first half of the game memorized when I first finally got my memory card. Yeah,
and that first Crash is hard.
It is. But yeah, I love them. I had the first two growing up. I actually didn't get Warped until a couple years ago. So I love the first two. The rest of the series, I've only played Warped, and the rest of them I haven't really played at all. So, but the first two, love them.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. I'm going to put you in the hot seat. Crash or Spyro?
Oh, that's tough.
You got to erase one from history. Which one do you erase?
Oh, man.
That's just rude.
Well, he's the big Spyro mark. I want to see.
I'd probably erase Crash.
Oh, wow.
I think it, from a single game standpoint, I probably like Crash Bandicoot 1 the most out of the Spyro games and Crash 2 and Crash 1. But as a series, I feel like the Spyro trilogy on the PS1 is better than the Crash trilogy.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge fan of Warped. So
okay, fair enough. I'm the same way where I do like Warped, but I didn't have that growing up. I had the first two, and I didn't get Warped until I remember renting Warped a lot, but I never owned it until I was an adult. Yeah. SNES's life. You want to weigh in on this? The big debate. Oh, what? What's this? Do you hate Crash? Where's he going? He's got his hands over his eyes.
I'm shamed. So we had Crash was one of the first games my brother had for the PlayStation. I remember playing it. And like I said, when he moved out, the PlayStation went with him. And I never played Crash Bandicoot again until literally last weekend. I got the Insane Trilogy, and I played it on stream for half an hour at the end of my normal stream. So I have never beat any of the Crash games. I do have a copy of the original for my PlayStation now that I turned it on to make sure the damn thing worked. But yeah, never played through any of them. Never played 2, 3, never played racing, none of that.
You call yourself a gamer. Wow. Oh my goodness. You heard it here first, folks.
Look, in my defense, my name is SNES is Live, not PSX is Live.
That's fair. That's fair.
True.
I'll give you that one. Well, you know what? You're really fortunate because those games rule, and I think you're going to have a ball when you actually dig into them. You are going to love them. Crash Bandicoot 2 is one of my personal favorite games of all time. I would put that. I don't know if it makes my top 5, but it's definitely in my top 10 for sure.
I will say I love the Crash Bandicoot commercials where he was outside of Nintendo with the bullhorn, "Hey Mario, come outside!"
Oh, those were great.
He was who I saw as the face of PlayStation in the '90s.
Agreed.
Because those commercials were so just out there and boisterous.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now, did you guys know? Oh, sorry,
Yeah, I just want to say, if you ever do SNES, go back and play the Crash games. I do highly suggest you play the original versions over the Insane Trilogy. Everyone talks about Crash being hard. It's made even harder in the Insane Trilogy just because of like the weight of Crash. He just doesn't feel the same.
They changed physics.
Yeah. I would agree that it is definitely harder on the reignited trilogy. Did you guys know that there is in the PlayStation version? I don't know if you did this SNES Life, but there's a hidden demo for Crash Bandicoot Warped. Did you guys know about this?
Mm-hmm.
I did not.
So on the start screen for Spyro, if you press L1 and triangle, it goes to this demo. First it shows a little video with like kind of pictures from the game, and it says like new Crash coming out soon, and then it drops you into one of the levels where you are riding the jet ski as Coco, which I thought was an interesting choice. I was like, wow, they're dropping you into a level as Coco, which I guess was a new thing. I don't think you'd played as Coco until the third one. Yeah, no, you didn't play as her in the second game. So that was kind of cool, but fun little Easter egg, on Spyro, again connecting them to the Crash franchise. And I think Crash Bandicoot Warped had a similar thing for Spyro, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't as easy. It was like a more difficult code to enter. It wasn't just like the two buttons, but yeah, there was a way to get to Spyro in Crash Bandicoot Warped.
I love stuff like that, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's such little Easter eggs like that. Really cool. Some other little tidbits of trivia for Spyro. He was originally supposed to be green, which is interesting because I am like, he's so, tied to the color purple. It's funny to imagine him ever being green. I guess they changed it because they thought he'd blend in too much with the grass. And then a really interesting piece of trivia, the music was done by Stuart Copeland, who, if you don't know, was formerly the drummer for the Police. Talk about a random, like, who would have guessed he did video game music? Did the music stand out to anyone, SNES? Did the music stand out to you at all?
I really like the music in the game. Now, I don't know if it's changed in the Insane Trilogy, whether it's a redone set of those tracks or if it's entirely different, but the original PlayStation version, the music was good.
Yeah.
Like, it did loop eventually, but it wasn't obnoxious. I mean, they were long, and each level was different and independent, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, go ahead.
It feels like the music fits all the levels well, too. Whatever theme you are, whether in Peacemakers and it's the desert, and it's kind of got like more of a war like drum beat to it and stuff. And you mentioned the reignited trilogy. You would think, since I played both, I would have an answer, but I like I said, I've played it so much that like the music just kind of, I zone it out, and I'm just playing the game. I think they're supposed to be the same. It's the same music, just updated, but I could be wrong.
I'm looking it up right now, and it does look like he did. It is still in there. There might be some newer stuff in the reignited trilogy, but his stuff is also there as well. I just thought, like what other video game did he work on? Any other video games? This Stuart Copeland of the Police. Get this. This is his video game music. He did the Urban Strike in 1994. Remember that, the helicopter game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, helicopter.
That was his first video game that he did, random. He did Spyro, Spyro 2, and Spyro 3. So he did the whole trilogy. Great. And then he did Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare in 2001. Spyro Enter the Dragonfly. And then his music was, I guess, in one of the Guitar Heroes, but he didn't do the music for the game. And that's it. And then the reignited trilogy. So he's done a lot of music for film and television and stuff, but video games, he is and really Spyro tied to. He's really tied to Spyro.
I feel like that's someone on the development team probably knows him or knew him personally.
How would you get involved in that?
Right. It seems like a weird grab.
Kind of,
Especially he's like, man, we need music for this new PlayStation game about a dragon. Like, who should we call him? How about the former drummer of the Police? Like, that's. And what is it with drummers and like doing music? Wasn't who am I thinking of? Trent Reznor. Was he a drummer for
9 Inch Nails?
9 Inch Nails. Is he the drummer? Not
He's in Nine Inch Nails.
Moving on.
Obviously not our genre of music.
No, not at all. Have any of you played the sequels, specifically the immediate sequels, the PlayStation ones? I know Captain Algebra. You have SNES, no?
No, I have them. Like I said, on my Vita, I've got the original trilogy on there, but have not started into them.
Yeah, MrsQDawg. I'm guessing no. Yeah. Okay, well then we're gonna lean on you, Captain Algebra. I've never played them either. This was my first Spyro game ever. Should we check out Ripto's Rage and Year of the Dragon?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, we kind of talked about how the Spyro the Dragon's kind of on the easier side, and they definitely make 2 and 3 harder, but they're also more interesting. You know, there is more to it, and just like Spyro the Dragon's a collectathon. You know, you got your dragons, you got your eggs, you got your gems, but they add more interesting ways to get things. So you have to collect orbs in Ripto's Rage. You have to do these different types of, go through these portals and have to do different objectives to get orbs. And it just makes it more interesting. And then in Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon, they just up the ante on that. And we talked about how 120%ing Spyro the Dragon, you get that really cool final level. The final area in Spyro Year of the Dragon is way better. It's very cool. So I think they're all worth playing, and they're all worth 100%ing.
Okay, good to know. I am
now. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Melissa. Yeah.
Did you play the reignited 2 and 3 as well? And is it different, like the first one? Or
yeah, I would say they're very similar. There's probably slight differences, but I haven't played the reignited trilogy for a few years when it came out. So I can't remember really the big differences. All I know is I was able to get through the reignited trilogy and platinum all 3 games without too much issue. So I think they were all pretty close to the original games.
Wow. Well, yeah, I'm definitely interested in checking them out. It scratched an itch that I want to keep scratching now, Like I said, it was a gift to myself. So I really have only ever wanted to play that first one. But yeah, the game ended and I wanted more, which I guess that's always a good thing. A couple other things I want to touch on before we start to wind down on Spyro. The boss fights in this game, they were kind of weird, were they not? They weren't really boss fights, not in the traditional sense, right?
No, I mean you had to hit them each 3 or 4 times maybe, but
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they were all kind of, I don't know, other than the very first boss, in my opinion, they were all just kind of lackluster. But the first one made me literally laugh out loud when you burn his cloak off and it's a sheep on stilts, and I was like, that's hilarious. Mm-hmm. And I'm sad that something silly like that didn't carry through to the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was kind of, and it's funny you bring that up because I was thinking that too. I was like, oh, I hope they're all clever like this, and they weren't, and they were almost like chase,
right.
like Gnasty Gnorc at the very final boss was kind of like a chase, rather than
they all did have a chase segment
element to them.
His was the worst because there were so many thin walkways you had to run across.
Right.
Or, like Melissa said, the gliding part, we had to jump the moving platforms.
Right.
But they were all definitely, like you said, chase sequences.
Yeah, they just all felt like another level. They didn't feel like boss fights.
Yes. Yes. Nail on the head.
Which is going back again to the sequels. There are more traditional boss fights in those games.
That's good, because if there was anything that let me down in Spyro, it would have been the boss fights. Yeah. A little lackluster. Yeah. And then Sparks, we haven't talked about Sparks too much, his little dragonfly friend. I didn't realize until 75% of the way through the game that was the health meter. And I thought it was so random, the health in the game up to that point. So you got this little dragonfly buddy, and he changes colors, and you can, when you get to certain areas, he can eat like butterflies or whatever to kind of replenish your health. And so I didn't realize that's what was happening And so I was like, why is it sometimes I get hit 4 times and then I die? Sometimes I get hit 1 time and I die, 2 times. Like what? There's no rhyme or reason to this. Like it doesn't make any sense.
You didn't notice the color change?
I did, but I didn't. And I'm sure a dragon, I don't know. I'm sure a dragon mentioned it too. Like the dragons are, telling you all the secrets of the game. I completely, am I the only one? You're all looking at me like I'm an idiot.
I made it into the peacekeeper, so I made it out of the whole first area before I realized it. Okay. It wasn't until I was getting shot by the guys with cannons that I realized, oh, he just changed color and now he's gone and now I'm dead. And that's when I picked up on it. So I mean, I made it into a little bit into the game before it clicked for me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was the kid that read all the manuals before I played a game, and so it told you in that. So maybe Curtis, next time you want to read a manual before you play.
You know what's funny is I have the manual too. Didn't. I will say though, love that idea as the health meter. I thought that was a great. Yeah, and the way you replenish it, that was a neat little, very creative touch to the game.
And also, he was useful. Like as long as he was there, he would fly within a certain radius. You can collect gems.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Which made you want to keep him.
Yes.
Right.
It was really annoying when he was gone.
Yeah. And then you have to be super accurate with running into a gem to make sure you collect it.
Yes.
Which he was very helpful to me a lot because I didn't realize I was supposed to feed him to replenish him. So I was like, butterflies, screw those, let's burn them.
Well, Sparks gets more involved too as the sequels go on. Not so much in 2, he can just find your gems in that one, but in 3, there's actually Sparks specific levels that you play as Sparks.
Sparks.
Yeah. So. Sounds neat.
Mm-hmm.
And the last couple of things I wanted to talk about, just challenge-wise, the first one was the collecting of the eggs, which that was tough, chasing little wizard guys around. But it was weird that they only did it in the first 3 worlds, and then they kind of abandoned it. Once you get to 15, you're done. Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm. It was a little strange,
right?
Yeah, I've always thought that was weird. Because then you're looking, like you mentioned before, the menu, your pause screen, and you can see all your stats. And it's like, oh, the first 3 level worlds have eggs, and then there's none.
Yeah,
it just didn't make sense.
Very,
you got them all, and you would think as the game went on, as you got further, it would get harder to get the eggs, or there would be more eggs, or anything. And nope. I wonder if that was they ran out of time when they were building the game. And they're
like, let it go.
Yeah, we like what we got, but we don't have time to do more. I don't know. It's just really
could be.
Right. It does seem really abrupt.
It does.
Or it was an add-on. They finished the game and they're like, oh, we need a little bit more. So they put it in certain levels where they could fit it.
That's
true.
That is, yes, that's a good theory. And then, of course, perhaps the most difficult thing in the game is the treetops level. Right?
Almost without a doubt.
Yeah, this is, if you're collecting everything, this is the level that's gonna give you a run for your money, I think. In fact, it was the first level that I got so frustrated I had to look up. I was like, what do you do? Right?
Yep.
That's where I gave in and looked it up.
Yeah.
It was also the level, the only level where I left and came back to. You were talking about how you finished every level before you moved on.
Yeah.
I did that too. But that one, I couldn't get the last dragon. And I tried, and I had 24 guys, and I blew through all of them. And I was like, I'm done. And I was like, I'm done. And I moved on to the rest of the game. And then I think I did it before I beat Ganasty. And then I went back and I did it within 5 times at that point. But
did you looked it up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
Yeah. And isn't it funny too? So what we're talking about, if you haven't played the game, you're collecting gems, and this level has this mechanic where you have to run down these ramps really fast and kind of launch yourself off them to get to the next platform. And there's some tricks you can do where the further you run, kind of the further you can fly. And so some of the, combos is you're running and jumping, and you want to keep your momentum going so that you can go around in a circle and get further. Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
But it's not as clear cut where you're supposed to go to keep that momentum going, where you're supposed to keep running. That's where the difficult part is. So is it difficult? No. Figuring out what to do, that's the difficult part. Once you know what to do, it's kind of, I could do it every time.
Mm-hmm.
But that initial figuring out, like, wait, I'm supposed to like turn here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I can run around there to keep my momentum. Oh, and that's how I get to that platform. Oh,
Yeah, it's definitely not intuitive on which way to go. So I still remember the first time I played it back in the day, because the thieves who are running don't reset. The only way they reset is if you start the level over. So I actually left the level, came right back in, and I'd already collected everything else. So I just specifically followed the thieves. And that was the reason I was able to figure out the path to go.
Oh, that's really interesting. That's great that you remember that from when, because this is like early internet where you couldn't just find this stuff. Like most times to figure this stuff out, you need a magazine.
Right.
I
had to figure that one out on my own. I didn't have internet to figure it out back then.
Yeah, kids, this is how it used to be back in the day. You couldn't just look it up on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have been on the playground going, "Did you beat this level?
Yes!
How did you do it?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I remember, back to Crash really quickly, there was one gem I couldn't figure out how to get for the longest time. And I had this magazine. It was a Game Pro. And that one gem they didn't talk about in the magazine. They had everything else. And I was like, are you kidding me? They don't have the purple gem. Like, what are you supposed to do? And what it ended up being was there was a box, like a stack of nitro boxes that you're just supposed to jump on and you won't blow up. It's like a secret, right? But any other level in the game, if you touch them, you're going to die.
Would kill you.
Right.
Yeah. But this particular one, you can just jump on and it'll like transport you to the next level. And it was the same thing. I was just going over and over and over again. I'm like, I know it's in this level. What do I do? And just trying every single thing. And then finally, somehow I stumbled upon, I can jump on these. And there it was.
Yeah, Treetops was the worst one. There was a level after it, I think, it was like a castle level that also had a double super jump. So you had to run down, jump, hit another one, and do that run and jump as well. But in Treetops, you jump that first jump, and then on the second one, you have to like quick whip a Yui when you jump off the end. It's so unintuitive to figure that out. And I gave up after about half an hour. I was like, you know what? I ain't got time for this nonsense. I'm looking it up.
Yeah. Did anyone? So, sorry, go ahead, Melissa.
I was going to say, you did a Yui, and you went up. You went the wrong way. Up, you went up a speed run. So you had to go backwards. And so you're like, why would I do that?
Yeah. Very unintuitive.
Yeah.
Did you struggle with anything else in the game? Like anything that gave you trouble that any can remember? I mean, the biggest things for me was that Treetops level and chasing the guys around like the circle to get the egg, like not wanting to fall in the magic lava or whatever.
The water or whatever killed you.
Yeah.
The flight levels were my issue.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, there you go. Was there anything that anyone would like to add before we start getting down to the nitty-gritty of Spyro? Did I miss anything? Did I forget anything?
Did you guys... Oh, well, you guys played the PlayStation. Do you have skill points in the PlayStation 1 version?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
What's
Never
that?
mind then.
Yeah.
Well, what is it?
Yeah. Explain.
In the reignited, they have skill points in certain levels. It's not in every single level, but it's almost. So, like, a couple of the bosses, if you do them perfectly, where you don't get hit by the boss as you're trying to defeat him, you'll get a skill point. And then after you do so many skill points, there's like a art book that opens up that you can see the artwork of all the dragons and stuff. So it was just kind of like an extra, almost like a trophy, but it's within the game. So it's not like not a PlayStation trophy. It's within the game.
So it doesn't give you like any physical bonus type thing in the game. You just unlock like art and stuff.
No, it's just, like extra, like, extra mini achievement within the game.
Yeah.
I still need to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually started the skill points in Ripto's Rage. So in Ripto's Rage and Year of the Dragon, they have them on the PlayStation. And I believe, I can't remember what you get in the third one. It might be the same as the second one, but the second one you get like an epilogue that you can kind of page through, and it tells you kind of things that happen to some of the characters that you met throughout the game.
Oh, that's cool. Well, good for them. They kind of added more stuff for them.
We brought it up a couple times, but since we're getting near, I think, the end here, and other than Melissa, who didn't unfortunately finish the game, we've all, I think, Curtis, me, and Algebra have all said that the nice thing is at the end, when you unlock that last level, that's really what you're looking for. I mean, we discussed like, the flying levels, you finally get to fly, but in that last level, you kind of get some open-ended flight areas.
Yes. Yeah, that's great.
That bonus level at the end was probably my favorite level just because of that. Like, you finally got the freedom just to be like, without a timer, go fly.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was...
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that was great, and then I had no other thoughts after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just cool how, like you said, without the time, like you could actually just stay, like you'd go to glide and you just stayed flying the whole time, and you could keep going back. Like if you dove down, you could go back up to wherever you jumped off from. And I just liked how, as you went through it, you got higher and higher and higher, and then you could just find all the rest of the secrets in the level.
Yeah. Now you, Captain Algebra, said that, was it the third one? You said the last level, and that's even better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that makes me want to go play that game right there. I'm like, there's a level that gives you even more freedom.
Yeah. It's harder for sure. Yeah. It's harder, especially if you want 100% it, but it's a lot more interesting than the last level in Spyro.
And sorry, which one? That was the second or third one?
Third one.
Okay.
The second one it's kind of boring.
Is it the skippable game?
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, the game itself is good. It's just what you get for 100%ing it isn't really worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah. I did feel satisfied when I got the little extra video, the ending, that was good. I felt like I had earned it, I hate when it's just, like I always feel like the Crash Bandicoot games barely do anything. They give you like a tiny video. This one was at least like maybe like a minute long or something. I don't know, whatever it was. It felt like, okay, I'll take that. That's good.
I have a question again, Captain Algebra, because you've played through the entirety of both. So one of the things I really enjoyed about Spyro, at least from the original PlayStation version, is he just poured out that 90s attitude, man. Like, I don't need you. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. Go off. Did they hold that through, or did they like tone that down?
I mean,
it made me crack up in this game. It was very, it took a lot after Sonic the Hedgehog, I thought.
Yeah, no, I think he always kind of has that attitude throughout the trilogy. It gets toned down a little bit. It's because he kind of wisens up a little bit and realizes it's not going to be as easy as he thought it was going to be. But yeah, he still always has a little attitude.
Okay, as like one of my favorite points was early on, you free a dragon, and he's like, "Let me tell you this." Spyro's like, "I don't need to hear this." It just runs off, and you're like, "Wait."
Yeah, there's some pretty good humor in the game.
I thought I'd accidentally hit a button and skipped it, and it's just part of it.
Right. One of the things I did want to mention, one of the funniest things, I don't know if you guys figured it out at all, but in Peacekeepers, in that second hub world, you have those guys who will run into the tents and hide from you. And if you burn the tents while they're in there, sometimes they'll turn around and moon you.
Yep, I saw that.
What? I didn't see that.
It's hilarious.
You burn the tents out, and they're like turn around with their pants down, and you're just like, "Oh, good God!"
Yeah, some will be afraid of you and like be shaking, but other ones, they'll like stick their tongue at you and then turn around and moon.
I miss that stuff. That's why. See, that's why '90s games were so great, because they had that tude. I miss that so much.
Yeah. That snarky '90s-ness.
Well, I think we've pretty much said all we can say about Spyro. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so.
But as we know, the Cartridge Club isn't just about the 4 people or 5, however many people that are on the podcast. It's about the whole club. And so one thing we like to do is reach out to the club and ask them to give a little 3-word review if they've been playing along this month. And they certainly did. and I'm going to get them right now. Where are they? Okay. Some good creative stuff, by the way. Let's go through these. So JJS Boyce says, my 3D inauguration. And does that mean that was the first 3D game that they played? Probably. Yeah.
Sounds like
it was
it.
there. You know, if you were on PlayStation, you have a 64 or something, I could see that happening.
For
Great
sure.
one. Round 2 gaming. Dean says, reignited my nostalgia. Very clever
Bum.
right there. Gamer.io said super, nostalgic fun. And he said he's a newcomer who joined in the fun this month. So welcome to the Cartridge Club, Gamer.io, and thanks for playing along. Frantic said the coolest sunglasses, which is a bit of a spoiler, as that's what you see in the 120% ending. RPG Tour Guide said series deserving reigniting. I agree. You know, Crash Bandicoot got the Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Where's this new Spyro? You know, where it's even though there's been sequels to Spyro, you know, the original team kind of left after the third one, and then it, much like Crash, kind of different people took over. So I'm with you there, RPG Tour Guide. MC Bone says super comfy collectathon. And I think that hits the nail on the head. Agreed.
Yeah.
Then finally, Miss Leah says platforming nostalgia for the win. She put FTW, by the way, so she didn't go over her 3-word review. So it was platforming nostalgia FTW. Very good. Clever use. There we go. So that was some 3-word reviews. Do you guys have some 3-word reviews that you would grace us with? I'll go first. I'll get the ball rolling. I'm going to say childhood hole filled. As I was saying it, I realized that childhood gap filled. There we go. It was something that was long time coming. I finally got to play it. That's what I meant by that.
There's a cut.
Who wants to go next? SNES, you got a 3-word review for us?
I think my original reply was holds up well, but I would also just say, like, play the original. Because it holds up well. Like, for a 20-plus-year-old game, I played the original version and it was still very satisfying. I think the graphics held up well, the music and sound were good, and it's just as playable today as it was then.
Yeah.
And not every game can do that.
That was great. You gave us 2 3-word reviews. Play the original, holds up well. Great. Captain Algebra?
I would just I'd go with a nostalgia trip.
Oh, okay. I heard something different at first. Did we all hear something different there?
Did I not enunciate enough?
A nostalgia
trip.
Very good. Yes. And finally, finishing us strong, MrsQDawg.
No,
what do you got?
no, it's not.
The best one. Save the best for last.
Pressure.
No. I'm gonna say frustrating but fun.
All right.
So I still had fun.
I can dig it. Well, if you thought that it was going to get difficult with the 3-word reviews, getting put on a spot, oh no. As you all know, when Curtis hosts a Cartridge Club, he always brings along with him the 3 questions of doom. So here we go. I'm going to kind of roundtable this. We don't need to go one by one and get your answer here, because I think it's going to be pretty obvious when I ask them. But question number 1, is this game worth playing?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Easy.
120%.
Okay. That was I see what you did there. But that was a softball question. Let's heat it up a little bit. See what I did there? Should this game be in your collection?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially with the availability, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Yeah, I think so. I'm going to keep it in the collection. I'm not going to purge it. The big one, question number 3. Out of 5 being the best, how would you rate this game?
Do you allow halves? I forgot. I forget.
Very funny, Melissa. I don't think you have forgotten. As we all know, I do not allow halves. You go right down the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all you get.
I'll give it a 4. I don't think it's a 5, but it was a very enjoyable experience for my first outing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 5. You guys, you know how much I love it.
All right.
I'm gonna have to say 4. I
4.
can't give it a 5. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go. Oh man. I'm gonna go 4. I almost gave it a 3, but I'm gonna go 4.
Ooh.
Why did you almost give it a 3?
I almost gave it a 3 because I felt like there wasn't enough meat on the bone. I wasn't challenged enough. But in the end, like SNES's Life said, this is, you got to think of who this game was geared towards, and it was for kids. And I think what they set out to do, they accomplished. It's not a perfect game, but it's above average, and so it gets a 4. So there we go. That actually wasn't too bad. Probably the easiest 3 questions of Doom ever in all of Cartridge Club history. Very
good.
You
might want to reword those questions of Doom. I don't know about that.
You handled that so well. Not a single beat of sweat on any of you. Wow.
Questions of mediocrity. Look at that.
All right. We're not reviewing the questions of Doom. Okay, they're set in stone. So that's all we got to say about Spyro. But what is coming up in the Cartridge Club? I'm sure you're all wondering, and I don't, to be honest, I know the first game we've announced, but Melissa, have the other 2 games been announced yet, or is this like a?
They have not been announced. So
oh gosh, this is
we
a
are
Cartridge Club exclusive.
Announcing it to the world.
A lot of pressure there, Curtis. A lot of pressure.
This is a lot of pressure. This is a lot. You know what? I'm not gonna bear this burden on my shoulders. I'm gonna point to one of you, and we're gonna go right in order of the months. Okay, so announcing December's game is gonna be.
It is Final Fantasy VII, the big 100th episode. Final Fantasy VII. You can either play the original or the remakes that have come out.
I can't believe the Cartridge Club has not played Final Fantasy VII. When I saw that was coming up, it blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, it's been on, I think, a lot of people's want list for the Cartridge Club. So we think 100th episode, it's gonna be a good one.
That's a good one, fitting of the 100th episode for sure.
Very.
Mm-hmm.
And then starting 2022, the very first game of the new year is going to be
me. That's Revenge of Shinobi. That's kind of rude making the SNES guy announce a Sega game.
I wanted to see it come out of your mouth, but you know.
Look, I will say the Shinobi series is a great series of games, though. Like, they are super fun.
See, there you go. That's why I chose you, because you know you can be a SNES fan and a Genesis fan. You know, there's room for both. It's not an either or thing.
Right.
You know?
The console wars are over.
Console wars are over. You know, teamwork makes the dream work, people. I've never actually played, I don't think, a single Shinobi game.
They are over, but you know, Nintendo won.
Now, is Revenge of Shinobi? That's funny. Is Revenge of Shinobi the one that has the like Spider-Man and Terminator and that one? Depending.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's really cool. And depending on like there's so many different versions of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know which bosses you're going to get until you play it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's really cool. That'll be a good choice. Whoever picked that, well done. Good cartridge game to start off the Cartridge Club in 2022. And then, of course, Captain Algebra. What's coming up in February?
That would be Portal 2.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I think a lot of people are excited for that.
Do you think they chose that because February, Valentine's Day, there's those like heart cubes?
The
Is that the
companion
connection?
cubes.
I don't know.
Right?
It could be. I don't know. That game's amazing, though.
So
whoever
good.
wrote the dialogue for that game really earned their
Mhm.
money, in my opinion.
And Stephen Merchant and J.K. Simmons, their voice work in that is nothing short of stellar. Really funny.
It is great.
So 3 solid games. coming up in the Cartridge Club. Really fun. Join along if you can. If you can't, you don't have to. That's the way the Cartridge Club works. You don't have to. That's it. But we thank everyone for listening along, playing along, and SNES is Life, Captain Algebra, MrsQDawg. Thank you all so much for joining along this month to talk Spyro with me. It has been a blast.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And we will catch you guys next month for the 100th episode of Cartridge Club, playing Final Fantasy VII. And until then, CC Unite.